All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome. We are going to be going into the guide to dominating Legends of the Mara. It's the new game from Otherside. It's freaking finally here. I'm joined today with Bryce,
Yo, yo.
and so we put together this epic guide. And essentially, it's like a really powerful resource to quickly reference to, is kind of the way we've been using it. We're going to break it down in a bunch of different charts. But first, let's just kind of get a little overview of Legends of the Mara from Otherside. Bryce, can you walk us through what is this game that we are playing? Hit me.
For sure. Right. So this game, essentially, we're in the first of. Is it confirmed? There's only 3 seasons, or there's going to be
No.
more
There's more
after
than
that,
that.
right?
There's like a three,
Okay, more
four,
than that.
five.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're currently in season one. It just opened up last Tuesday, and we've been given two tasks: either farm sediments or hunt the shattered. Well, not or. I guess you can kind of do both in conjunction. But essentially, we're fighting for a finite amount of rewards in both categories. So when you hunt, there's 3 different bosses you can defeat. And as you defeat them, you gain loot chests. And when you farm fragments, and that's on a production per hour type basis. Um, so we're all equipped with different types of vessels, and we're just trying to figure out the best ways to optimize our plots to gather the most loot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really insane. There's a lot of depth to this game. It's not as simple as just throwing stuff on there and just letting it ride and being like, oh, cool. Like I guess I'm done. I put everything on one plot, and I mean, there's ways that you can go in there and you can optimize it, and you can really get the most out of your different assets. And so when we
Right, and
talk
that's what we're
about
hoping that these tables and stuff we're going to show in this video and kind of in our guide are really references for you to use to then optimize your deeds. Because everybody has a different number of assets, different number of codas. Some pulled common, some pulled legendaries. So the combinations are kind of endless. But this Will and I we put together this sheet or kind of all these different tables that will be great resources to use as you're trying to figure out what is the most optimal way to place your vessels, your Mara.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like the best way to break it down is the other deed is like the card, the playing field, like the actual deed itself has characteristics which determine how you can play your pieces. And so your pieces are you're going to be your vessels that you have to first place into this top section up here by the other deed name, vessel slot. So that's where you put your vessel, you hatch it. It takes 7 days, and then once you have it, you get these different rarities of Mara, and then you can also put Coda, which are more powerful, and basically it just helps dominate the other side that much more. First, we're going to dive into some tools that I think are extremely useful because if you dig into each of these, there's different traits and different abilities and different whatever. So like Codas, this weapon coda does 162 damage per second. It does 40% boost to farming. It can also do enchanting and boost 20% to hunting and 30% to farming. And so it all gets complicated extremely fast. But today we're just going to break down how to optimize farming. And so we're going to dig into those charts. But first, I want to dive through
You're
a
just quickly
couple.
trying to flex all your codas. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, here they all are. Yeah,
I'm
okay,
on to
anyway.
you.
All right.
I'm on
Anyways,
to
I want to give
you.
a shout out to some community tools,
For sure.
basically some builders that are just freaking epic. This is from Other Decks. They're a data aggregator for like all things Otherside. So like, they basically you can explore all the deeds, the Maras, the vessels, you name it. You can go in here and kind of check them out. You can also do a similar thing with Otherside Wiki. But so the resources though for today that we're talking about, I really like this chart. It's kind of like your stats chart. You can see here, this is how much your enchanters in the middle. This is how much they can do boost to your hunting DPS, which is also the DPS for each of the rarities of Maras over here. Then your Coda, Weapon Coda, and Mega Coda, for the big boys who've got some serious firepower. And then also we have how much boost is given to production for the different tiers. And so super awesome. This chart comes in handy all the freaking time. But also another little hidden gem is this LOTM builder from Other Guild, where you can essentially, you can load in and be like, hey, I've got a biogenic sediment. It's tier 2. I'm on an environment tier 3, and then you can like populate it with some farmers or add a hunter, choose the rarities and all that kind of good stuff. And essentially throw some enchanters on there. Hold on, we'll get there. You do like some random combination of stuff.
Common epic, boom.
And you can see like here, my total damage or total DPS is 97. And my rate of which I am farming is 11 units every 9 hours. So like if you have a setup that you kind of want to change around and you just want to double check it, LOTM Builder is probably going to be the one that gets you across the finish line.
For sure. And it will definitely be helpful if you use it in conjunction with our tables and kind of run through different percentages. And then, you can do a little test build.
Yes, sir. All right. So we keep talking about our tables, our guide, or whatever. So like this is kind of like, this is like the home base. This is where we got all of the stuff collected. We'll also have a tweet out there. So going through our guide, a little overview on Otherside. Here's again the shout out to the community tools that are just absolutely freaking banging awesome. Sediment farming, obviously that's what we're going to be trying to work towards optimizing today with some of these charts. Real quickly, let's take a brief pit stop here and talk about, some of the details that make farming what it is, right? So there's a production percent, which comes from farmers. And then there's a speed percent, which comes from enchanters. So all those numbers that we saw over on the other decks post, if my computer will load, these all together get squunched together, added up, gives you a percentage. And then, using some math, it's not a this percent.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's not
this rate. I know it's
not a straight division.
Like, but that percentage mixed together with your tier base. So there's 3 tier bases. There's 5, 7, and 10. So basically you just do the tier base times 1 plus the production percent. And then that gives you the top number or your units of production of fragments. And then the bottom number is your enchanter percent. And you do some like little math there where it's like, I'm not going to bore you. It's like 24. Well, I'm going to bore you anyways. It's 24 minus 24 over 1 minus or 1 over the speed or whatever. Anyways. That's what the Excel formula looks like. All right, cool. So anyways, the other thing to point out though that's kind of cool is this farmer's production percent. When calculating the final rate or like the unit of the units of production of fragments that are produced, it rounds up. So if you're at like 24.1, it rounds up to 25. So like that enters in a whole nother world of like optimization where it's like, you could be like riding the bottom line, but then get that extra bit of like a big boost up to the next step just because you got right over the edge. And so there's just little things like that are just super cool to dig through and kind of discover.
Yeah, so definitely anyways, some of these charts down here, this will really kind of drive this home. Especially like if you look on that tier 1 sediment production no coda chart, at the bottom left, we see for one farmer combinations where the minimum production percentage is 20. That means our fragments is 6. So that's just using one common farmer, where if you just upgrade it from an uncommon or from a common to an uncommon, your production instantly gets to 7. So it's one of those very minor upgrade, but you're yielding an extra fragment every cycle.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to.
Sorry, I kind of jumped the gun. We didn't really explain the chart very well.
Welcome to the chart, 1 of 7. But yeah, I mean, so okay. The first things first, we had to build a base of like understanding and knowledge, right? So like first, we wanted to be like, okay, cool. What is the like if I had only one hunter, and this could be on an environment tier 5, it doesn't matter, but this is the damage you can do with just one hunter. And then the next step, hunter. I said damage, and I thought, man, we're hunting.
Bro, you're talking about damage and hunting. Where this is
no. Damage to that harvest. You know what I'm saying?
Like, there we go.
Damage to the harvest. DPS okay, we got 20 points. I mean, that's if you just put a common farmer, like Bryce said, If you put anything like an uncommon or above, you immediately jump up to 7 at a minimum, and then you can then unlock the more potential. Once you get to 42%, that unlocks the 8 production units. So ideally, you're trying to climb the ladder to have as many production units as you can, and you're trying to stay as low as you can, which is why we put all of these minimum percentages, because if you're like way too above that, and you're only getting 9, for example, if you're getting 9 and you're at like 75, okay, like you've got you either can cut some corners somewhere and maybe trim the fat, or you can like jump up and try and get that 75 to an 81, and then you're doing a little bit more production per period.
Yep.
So
I also want to explain the green columns on the left. So that one farmer, that is there to show you the absolute maximum production units you can get utilizing one farmer. So with the 5, you can't reach 12 units using 4 farmers. You have to have 5. But I do want to show, if you use 5 common farmers, your production percent would be 100. So you would be at 10. But if you want to get to 12 and 13, you have to have 5. So just want to kind of make that clear.
Yes, sir. It's the details. It's not like you can only get this if it's 4 farmers. Like you can get below this.
Yeah, you can get below, but you just can't reach these top units without having 5 farmers.
So don't want to bore the people too much. This is tier 1 sediment production, no coda and with coda. So if you're rocking with a coda, it changes up your game a little bit. We have the same chart for tier 2 and for tier 3. Obviously, it begins to expand a little bit once you get into that tier 3 range, and that's just because 10 is greater than 5. I don't know.
What do you know?
Something
crazy.
Something or another craziness there.
The math is mathing.
But, I mean, it's kind of cool, though. I mean, if you're on a tier 3, obviously, you're going to be starting at 12 because you're doing twice as much base
5 times
from 5
2
to 10.
is 10.
Okay, cool. Anyways, numbers, hard.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. That's that top number. If you can increase your production units to the maximum 30, if you can increase your production units and decrease your hours taken to, yield fragments, then you're going to get more fragments. And so how do we decrease the amount of time?
Oh, it's also important to note in the coda table, we have codas needed. So if you want to get to 30 production units, you have to have 5 codas. If you just want to get to 27, you need at least 2 codas. It's not possible with only 1. So that's also kind of helpful if, you don't want to buy more codas and know, I only have 2 codas. Well, the max you can get is 27 there.
Details, man. At this point,
Details.
it's the little details. All right.
Details.
So, anyways, we're going to move on to the bottom portion of that equation that we talked about up here. Your speed percent, which gives you the enchanters. So we have what we have dubbed the Enchanter Helper. Enchanter Helper.
Enchanter Helper. Sorry.
Anyways, we're just being silly at this point. I mean, we've been working on this all freaking day. Let me tell you, it's been a long time. Abracadabra, give my workers a boost. That was not any. There was no slight in judgment there.
That's delusion.
We're leaving it in, baby. It's shipping like that, man. Come on. All right, so Enchanter Helper. We didn't break it apart into 2 graphs or 2 tables this time. We just left it as the one. But essentially, what you can see is if you have 0 enchanters, your period is 24 hours, right? So hopefully y'all can see my mouse over the 24 here at the bottom. Do you get any production boost percent? No. So we're using production boost to show how much is that affecting your fragments per day, if that's the calculation that you want to work to. And some people might want to do fragments per hour or fragments per whatever. We just kind of normalized it to fragments per day since that's the base unit. If you have no enchanters helping your farmers out, that's what you're going to be stuck at. So over here, though, you can see the range of speed percents. It's pretty important to note that speed percent is going to look different than your production boost, right? So if you're at 50% speed boost, speed percent, that's equivalent to 2xing your production, or 100% production boost, or 2x production multiplier. Okay, I just put it two different ways because it like kind of helps visualize. I mean, it really drives it home that like if you put one enchanter, in this case, you have to have one coda or weapon coda or mega coda. Actually, no, sorry, mega coda puts it in a different league. Never mind. It has to be. It has to be
physically just one regular
come
coda.
and reference this chart where you're like codas are 25, weapon codas are 30, megas are 35. Okay, so with the 25, 30 would actually put you to 17. So like with one coda as your enchanter, it's going to give you a 1.33 or a 33.3% boost to your production. Now, what's really cool though is like when you climb up higher and higher, every percentage point gets you just that much more. So you start off at only doing a 33% boost, then you climb up. You know, if you're over here with 3 enchanters, you're doing a 2x to your boost, and then from there, every single little bit that you add just starts going crazy. And they capped it, which is unfortunate because I was running the numbers and I was getting excited. I was like, holy crap. If I did 3 weapon codas and I got a boost of 90%, this here, 90%, the period would be so small or it would be really small that it would be insane. You would be like you would be the
infinite fragment glitch.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would be insane. No, the infinite fragment glitch was the one that broke my calculator, and that was 3 mega codas as the enchanters. It was just like too much work. Yeah, so it's wild. Yeah, I think the one thing that I would point out here is you want to get to 6 hours if you have 3 enchanters and some codas in the mix there. Red over here, coda required. Also down here, coda required to have, you know, that limited number of enchanters and still have that value. But if you're going to get to 6, if you're over 75%, you've hit the ceiling and you're just wasting at that point. So definitely you want to be mindful of trimming the fat and getting that crap out of there and utilizing it somewhere else on your playing fields.
Yeah, I think Will said this, but this that table really shows you that like 1 enchanter, they're good, they give you a boost, but the real damage comes in when you can get to 3 enchanters, and especially add a coda in there.
Yeah, real quick, real quick, serious boosting. All right, so now comes the fun part. We showed you some charts, which are okay, cool. I mean, it helps visualize like the effect of having higher environments or having more enchanters. But let's dive into
this one's dense. Just forewarning, it's very dense.
The production per day charts, which this is like, okay, from a bird's eye view. Well, no. Before we even do that, let me just break it down. Again, we have on the left side no codas farming, and on the right side we have with codas farming. We went ahead and left in the possibility of having. So basically, this is the entire playing field. This is the entire rates that you can get, all the way from the smallest of the smallest rates on an environment
sediment one,
common farmer. You can get 6 per 24 hours. All the way up to the tippy top absolute max is you hit 120 per day. Right? So, so what we have here is the green section. This is all of your
possibilities just using basic Mara. I mean, just Mara in general.
Yeah, I've got it written up here. Green is the area we can operate in without needing the help of codas. Orange is the area that requires codas help as enchanters. And then red is the area that requires codas help as farmers.
So yeah, it's essentially the information from the other charts, but just kind of relayed in here.
Well, it takes those boosts. It takes both of them, right? So you have the production units on the left-hand axis here, the y-axis, and
goes from 6 all the way down to 30.
And then the period in hours is here on the x-axis, which comes from the enchanter helper chart. So you mix those two together, you do the fraction, you get the rate, and this is essentially the rates just normalized to production per day, or fragments produced per day. So this is
essentially will allow you to while you're testing different setups, you can see which ones truly are better or not, rather than having to, mental math convert your 7/10 fraction to out of 24 a day.
Yeah,
It's
right. I
just
mean,
kind of a
there's a
quick
there's a
spot
number of
reference.
different ways to use this chart to your advantage, and it really just comes down to the deeds that you have, right?
Hmm.
If you've got two tier one environment deeds, then you can compare them right here on the same chart. If you've got a tier one and a tier three, well, then you might be on a different chart, kind of going back and forth, comparing between the two, or just visualizing it in this other playable area, which is it has no background color, which I think we labeled as black, is the area that cannot be reached on that given sediment tier. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and like zoom out for a second. If we look here, this is the sediment tier 1. Then sediment tier 2, it like moves down the playing field a little bit. And then
Hmm.
sediment tier 3 literally just like
Really
has
just
full reign
opens
of
it up.
the playing field, and you can literally achieve a whole crap load more on a tier 3 plot, which is super cool. I mean, they're definitely powerful. But yeah, especially the tier 3 sediment 5s, like if you've got those things maxed out, you could be
GG.
cooking. Absolutely cooking. All right, Bryce, you got anything to comment on these charts?
Oh, baby. No, but I can personally say I've used this chart several times when figuring out optimizations. It's just a quick
Yeah,
and easy reference.
I think my advice would be for someone to kind of get familiar with the top two, or
Hmm.
the top two, the
Yeah, the
farmer and
farmer,
the
the first
enchanter.
farming chart. Yep.
Get your
And then,
bearings, understand how this works, how the name of the game, decrease your period, and then the effect that has, and then figure out what your sediment is, and then see how that impacts your production units, right? And
hmm
then from there, yeah, basically just rocking and rolling and grabbing these charts, putting them in a folder, opening them up, toggling back and forth, especially with the reference one here and the LOTM builder. I mean, you'll be set to start optimizing your setup and kind of trying to figure out where the puzzle pieces lie that make the most sense for the deeds that you hold, the Maras that you've hatched, and the Kodas that you've been rocking since forever and a day. So, yeah, I think that pretty much covers all of what we have to put out right now. We're gonna have some more information about hunters, hunters hunting,
hmm
coming out in a little bit. We still haven't gotten the gameplay for for like the Shattered experience. So
And so that, yeah, that'll especially be interesting too, and probably another level of complexity with the different coda abilities. And for the hunter abilities, right? Whether you have crit damage buff or damage over time, or whatever those other abilities are.
yeah, right. So there's a lot to dig into there. I mean, you have all your possibilities of like the abilities of the Kodas. You also have the abilities of the hunters, and then on top of that, we do know a little bit of information that came out, some stuff about the health of the Shattered. So people kind of have been
Hmm.
able to estimate the time to kill a Shattered. So this is the time to slay Shattered for this setup, I guess, with one legendary hunter would take 20 days. And so there's been a little bit of discussion about the rewards for if you can kill or slay. I should probably if you can slay the Shattered and within 10 days, I think you get a master chest. And
Yep.
so someone had mentioned, I don't know where I saw this, but I think someone had mentioned that's just the reward for the first one. And so
Hmm.
potentially maybe the second Shattered that shows up on your deed requires more damage to be dealt. And if it requires more damage, then maybe it's significantly harder to get a master chest, right? And so there's all these different options. There's also going to be cooldown times until the Shattered reappear on your deed. I believe that's a thing, right? I'm not making that up.
Yeah, so there's a
So
cooldown times, right? So then that brings in a different element of strategy. Maybe, do you split your deed and put some as hunting and some as farming, or do you hunt hardcore to kill it fast and then you farm hardcore during the cooldown period, right? So there's several different ways to play this game. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how hands-on or hands-off you want to be. But we are definitely interested in optimizing and figuring out how we can get the most bang for our buck.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we also know that there is Mist, and Mist is the in-game currency, which is, at first it was used to speed up vessel hatching. It'll then hopefully have some unique characteristics or abilities to maybe respawn your Shattered faster, or recover faster from a hunt or something. I don't know. I haven't gotten to explore the Shattered part of this experience yet, but hopefully we'll get to it soon, and then be able to kind of start developing more strategy. But right now, currently, I'm just full steam ahead fragment farming while we're still in this period of waiting for vessels to be hatched. Because I think once a lot of those come online, people are going to start filling out their plots that have especially biogenic swamp fragments, because man, those things are cooking already, just depleting at a much faster clip. I mean, obviously, there's like 2x less, so it's not that big of a surprise, but
yeah, right.
They're still depleting pretty dang fast. I think
Pretty
realistically, this would be what? If this was 2x, it'd be 95% instead of 90, something like that.
Something like that.
Anyways,
I don't know, but I think that's all we have in regards to farming. We hope this was helpful. Any final thoughts, Will?
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed this guide, if you have comments or questions or feedback, or you want to say whatever you want to say, I don't know, go ahead and leave us a comment, and definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter.
The show.
Hit the subscribe on the Substack as well, because you never know when the next guide is going to be coming out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.